Hey everyone, welcome back to the Joe of Culture. So today I'm gonna be doing like a political story sort of thing. I mean, it's not really a story as much as it is describing the way I got into politics, which you'd have to assume is like not very you'd assume it's not very crazy of a story how you'd get into politics, and you'd probably be right. I don't think it's all that crazy, but it definitely is one of those stories where you're like, oh, that's weird, that's different, maybe. I mean, I guess it's not that different. There's a lot of stories similar to this, but you're all gonna be like, that's a really stupid reason for you to at least find which political party you'd choose. Obviously, I'm in America, and this is back when Trump got elected, 2016. So after he got elected, I was hearing all these negative things. I was like, oh man, this guy sounds terrible. And I didn't know about politics. I didn't really care about politics. Honestly, I kind of still don't want to have to care about politics, but once you're into politics, you can't really get out. It's like, once you go politics, you never go back. So, I want to say, I didn't actually start caring until maybe 2017. Maybe. I'm not really sure where the timeline meets up, but that's irrelevant, I guess. It doesn't really matter all that much. So I started getting politics. I started watching the late night shows like Trevor Noah and all that, and I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty good stuff, I guess. I mean, I don't really know. It's because I didn't really want to watch the dry, boring news stuff, because I'm not really into that. I'd rather watch comedians and stuff. So that's how I started watching it and getting involved and knowing what's happening. And then after hearing all these things they're saying about Trump, I was like, it's oh, this, that, he's evil, pretty much. They were and I believed it. I was like, oh man, this guy sounds like the worst person ever. And you're all gonna be like, wow, that's a really, really stupid reason to think that he's not a bad person, I guess. And yeah, it's kind of a petty sort of oh, this is the guy that they're calling evil sort of thing, which is the way I describe it usually. So me and my friend decided, oh, we should watch the roast of Trump, because because it was before he got elected and stuff, and let's see how it goes. We didn't really know too much about the roast, but we just saw that there was one because we were watching the roasts at the time. I don't remember what other roasts we were watching. But we were watching the other roasts of, oh man, I can't remember which other ones we were watching, but there's a bunch of them out there. You can find them. They're Comedy Central specials. They're pretty good. But we were oh, let's watch the roast of Trump. And after we watched it, I'm like, this is the guy? This is the evil guy they're talking about? He seems not that bad. And that was kind of the rabbit hole, as the kids would be saying, of how I decided, well, maybe these people are kind of full of crap, and they just don't like him because of politic reasons. So I was like, well, maybe his policies are bad then. So I kind of I mean, saying I did my own research is kind of lazy. I mean, I just kind of watched YouTube videos. I kind of just saw what other people were saying, opinions, and then that's when I fell into the social justice warrior rabbit hole of learning about what they're doing, and I was just like, what the hell are these people doing? And then, because people would interview themselves talking to these people, and I'm like, these people are completely unhinged. They have no... Because, you can't just go up to someone and place, facts in front of them and then just be and they would just, start screaming and stuff. They were completely unhinged people. And obviously, these aren't all the people on the left, but they're the people who are going out. They're the people who are protesting. And it's well, I mean, I'd love to listen to your message. And honestly, I agree with their message. I love the LGBTQ plus community. I love people of color. I don't have a problem with any of these people. So I'm just well, why are these people getting to be the advocates for minorities and, as they call it, what is the term that they usually use? Something underprivileged, I guess they call it. But I mean, that's kind of just what is the word that they use for that too? The political word. It's not dogma. It's I mean, it's probably also dogma, but no, it's rhetoric. It's just a lot of rhetoric that doesn't really make a lot of sense. They just repeat it because they've heard it so many times. And it's not very cool. I mean, I don't like... I hate the tribal sensibility. Because people are just arguing politics because they want to be tribal. And it's like, I don't really care about the tribal reasons. I want to just get to the bare bones. Like, these are the problems. What are we going to do to fix them? And people don't want that. People just want to argue. And it's really frustrating. So I fell into the pit of social justice warrior trends and these people protesting, and it came to a head when I met this girl who was dating one of my friend's friends that I saw at, like, and he was kind of my friend at the time, but I guess he just, like, I don't know what happened. It's all good though. I mean, I didn't know him too much, but we hung out a few times, and he was a really cool guy, and his girlfriend seemed alright too. Like, we were like, I was really into, like, conspiracies, too, like, the alien conspiracy. Honestly, I kind of got over that, like, because I'm pretty sure it's just the government, like, lying. Because, like, once you, like, learn about the government, you're kind of like, oh, they're probably just lying. They probably know what UFOs are. I don't know if they're alien or not. I mean, they could be. Who knows? It really doesn't matter, I guess. But, so I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, well, it's probably not that bad. And I start talking to her about it because I'm into politics at the time. I'm starting to talk about how, like, honestly, I don't even think we were talking, maybe it was abortion we were talking about, and I was like, yeah, I mean, like, I don't remember where my stance was at the time, but my current stance on abortion is, yeah, if you've been sexually assaulted, you should be able to get an abortion. If the mother's life's at risk for an abortion, or you should get an abortion if the mother's life is at risk, stuff like that. But I don't think it should be used as birth control. That's the only thing. Like, if you're gonna get an abortion, you should probably have a better reason. And even if it's like, I'm really like, if I have this baby, I can't afford it. Even that, I'm kind of like somewhat on the fence about. I'm not really sure. I don't really have a stance on that, because it's like, if you can't afford to take care of the child, you probably shouldn't be having it. But I don't know if, like, killing it is, like, the best option. I don't know. I think that we should fix the adoption centers and stuff. I think we should have fixed the orphanages. Because I honestly, though, I assume that the orphanages in this country are probably better than most countries. People say that it's not, but I know the foster system is a mess, so, like, we really need to, like, revamp the foster system and how that works. But I don't know too much about it. All I know is that I don't really like abortion. I don't think it's the best thing. And there are options. But I digress. It doesn't really matter all that much. What happens is the girls, we just start talking. I accidentally, like, interrupt her, like, a couple times, like, not, like, on purpose. I'm just, like, I have ADD and ADHD, so I just tend to blurt things out when, like, I'll hear her say something, I'll just blurt something out, because I'll be like, oh, I want to say something, because, like, I've heard that that's not true, or, oh, that's interesting, let me try and, like, let me try and break down what you're saying so I can understand you more. But she got really pissed that I interrupted her. The first time she kind of gave me a pass, which is fair. Like, I mean, like, at least she gave me, like, one, and she said, try not to interrupt me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. And, like, I apologize. And the second time I was like, yeah, I'm really not meaning to. It just, I blurt things out. But she was not having it after the second time, and I was like, crap, I just pissed off a social justice warrior, I think, because she started going off about, this is the problem with men, they're evil. And I'm like, oh my God, you might need to calm down there. I don't think this is a men thing. I think people just interrupt people. It's not, like, a big deal. I think she even said I was trying to mansplain, and I was like, ew. Like, ew, no, that's not a thing. And, like, maybe not at the time. At the time, I don't know if I know. I think I knew, like, I mean, I was, I got really into it. I was, like, learning all about it. I thought it was, like, fascinating, because it's like, what is driving these people to think the way they're thinking, and why? And honestly, at this point, I have come to the conclusion that they don't really care about their issues. They just want to argue. Because, like, if they cared about the issues, they talk about the issues. They're not talking about the issues. They're saying, this is the way it is. Shut up. I don't want to hear anything else. La, la, la. They're putting their ears, their fingers in their ears, and they go, la, 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 la. I'm not listening. That's literally what they're doing. It's the political equivalent of that. So, that's kind of when I was like, okay, these people are crazy. I've met one of these people in real life. They actually exist. They're not just made up figments of my imagination that I saw on the internet. And that was kind of when I was like, all right, well, I know they exist. I know they're crazy. And I know that they're like the driving force of the Democratic Party. Because honestly, if Donald Trump had ran for Democrats, I don't think there would have been a difference. Like, I think that the Democrats would have been the Republicans, and it would have just been the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, so if Donald Trump had run as a Democrat, won as a Democrat, and whoever the Republican was that he was running against, because there's a uniparty. It's a uniparty. It's one party. I don't think that they're any different. I think the only reason that Donald Trump was different than most Republicans is because he wasn't a Republican, really. He was a Democrat all his life. He's like the equivalent of like a civilian Democrat, like at least before the whole social justice warrior movement came into play. Like when just like regular Democrats, like just classically liberal Democrats. So that's the way I view Trump after. Like that's how I view him now. I'm like he wasn't really a Republican. He actually did govern a little bit more conservatively, but I kind of blame the Democrats for that. I think he would have done more progressive issues if they had just not been like lying about him at every turn. Like I think that he just was like pissed at them. So and like don't get me wrong, I don't really think Trump's that great or anything. Like I think his policies are great. Don't get me wrong, but his personality, obviously, like most people say who supported him. Like I don't really like his rhetoric. I think it was bad, some of the stuff he said, and most of the stuff he said. I mean, I'll even give you that. Like if you want to say most of the stuff he said was bad, I will give you that. But if you're saying like his policies were bad and evil, you're wrong. You're just wrong. He said stupid stuff because he was a stupid guy. Oh no, I don't know if he was a stupid person. I think he just was a loudmouth. Which you can be a loudmouth and not be stupid. Because, like, he did some stuff and, like, he put, I mean, in the end, he did lose. Like, he lost. Yeah, like, he took the L. He took the L hard. But through the entire 4 years that he was president, he was taking W after W after W. And I'm just like, wow, this guy is just handing these people their butts. And then all of a sudden, he just gets that L at the election. I'm just like, well, that sucks, but you know, hopefully Joe Biden will do his best, and he's doing his best at something. I don't know what you can say about it. I don't really like what Joe Biden's doing in office. I think the inflation's going to be terrible and all that, but I digress on that. So I would get honestly, I'm going to give a shout out to Tim Pool because that's kind of like my political daddy over here. Like he's the one who's handing all those facts down. I think he's doing a great job, and you know, if you pretty much ask anyone on the culture war right, they would probably agree with you that Tim Pool is like the politics guy to be watching. Obviously, even Tim says this himself, you should be watching everything. I kind of don't want to watch CNN and like the mainstream news because I know they're lying. Like, what am I going to get from watching CNN? I'm going to get them lying to me, and it's like I'd rather not. I mean, I'm sure they tell the truth on like some stories. I'm not saying everything they say is a lie. It's just everything they say is sus. Like I can't just watch it and be like, all right, well that's true. Like I'd have to like look up the facts. Like I'd have to make sure I'd have to verify those facts. And it's like I don't have the time or the patience to be verifying that. So I just want to give a shout out to Tim because he's kind of the guy who drew me from the right, because I started going further right. I would say like I was watching like the Daily Wire and stuff, and I still like the Daily Wire, don't get me wrong. But they are definitely more conservative, and they don't really line up with my view, because they're very like anti like the LGBT stuff. Not like they don't like the people. They're just like, I don't think that there should be gay marriage. They don't like, not I, but like they think that there should be gay marriage. And honestly, I don't know. My brother is, so I'm not like against that at all. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me. The issue. I don't think we should be arguing these issues. Like, not that we shouldn't be arguing them. I think there's more pressing issues, and people are getting distracted on these issues, which I don't think the LGBTQ plus community is really all that discriminated against. Not any more than most people, because like you can't like it. So people in the LGBTQ plus community, they kind of advertise their like. It makes sense. Like it makes sense to me. You'd want social reinforcement to show people, hey, I'm part of this group, so you can find people who are also part of that group. But, like, you don't really need to be doing that, especially in the day of the internet when you can just have, like, those things in your bio on social media and stuff. Like, if you add someone, like, if you meet, I don't know, because then you could meet, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. All I'm saying is the issue of the LGBTQ plus community is not the biggest issue facing America at the time. Or at this time, or even back then, because I don't think really, they've had the fastest, like, social movement. Like, the second that social, like, not the second, but, like, the social movement started in what, like, after the black social movement in America, the segregation protests and all that, back in, what was that, the 70s, 60s? I don't know. Not exactly sure, but it was like 70s, 80s maybe. Was it the 80s? I don't think it was the 80s. I don't know. It was in the late 1900s. So, we'll just say that. Honestly, the thing is, I didn't actually start getting into politics till 2016, 2017, so I missed out. Like, I know some of the history of, like, recent history prior to 2016, like, Obama years and stuff, politic-wise, but for the most part, I wasn't really in that world. I was like, I'm a gamer. Another thing that actually got me into politics is the Gamergate stuff, and I was like, this stuff sounds stupid. This whole thing is stupid. I hate this. Like, they're blaming all gamers for one little thing that, like, most gamers didn't have anything to do with, and they're still calling gamers bad. And, like, if they weren't coming for my anime, if they weren't coming for my video games, if they weren't coming for all the stuff that I like, I would let them do their stupid policies that just destroy the country, and I probably wouldn't care. I'd be like, as long as they're not touching my stuff. But no, they're going after it. They're making it worse. It makes no sense to me. Is it the... Obviously, I'm not even, like, a Battlefront fan. Like, I don't really play Battlefront. I'm more of a Call of Duty guy, as you can tell from the videos on my first channel. But, pretty much what I'm gonna say to that is, like, it's silly, but, like, that doesn't really bother me. It's not stuff like that, per se. It's just, like, I don't know. It feels like people... It's the same argument with the LGBTQ stuff. It's not, like, the most important thing you need to be worrying about. They're not worrying about gameplay. They're worrying about diversity. And it's like, you're just making your game suffer if you're doing stuff like that. And, like, if you want to put diversity in there, that's fine. But, like, don't, like, make it the main focus of your game. Like, I'm playing a video game to, like, play a video game. I'm not playing a video game to learn, which is a lot of the things that people say. I mean, I don't know. Which ends up being, sorry if this is a little, like, all over the place. I'm just kind of, rapping right now, as the kids would say. I'm just rapping. But, the politics thing, it's, like, very frustrating. And if you like this kind of politics stuff, let me know. I'll probably do more. But for the most part, I guess that's all I really wanted to say, is that, like, I would not have been a Trump supporter if they, maybe I would have still, because if they weren't lying, and they were honest and upfront about what they wanted, I probably wouldn't have ever been a part of what they were trying to do. Like, it makes no sense. Like, I am socially liberal, 100% socially liberal. Do what you want as long as you're not bothering me. But policy-wise, I think we should have guns. I think, as Tim Pool put it, shout out to Tim Pool again, as Tim Pool put it, he thinks that the Republicans should be pushing for universal guns, and that means, like, people should be background checked and stuff. They should make sure that they have a mental acuity to own a gun. Like, they shouldn't just be given a gun. But I think that the government should provide firearms. If you want a firearm, you should be able to have a firearm, and the government should give you one. Imagine that. Like, so imagine if a foreign nation wants to invade us. They would never, especially, I mean, that's the reason that they can't invade us now. But imagine if the government was like, all right, we're going to give everyone a firearm. Never would we be invaded. The only way that someone would be able to defeat the U.S. is nuclear arms, and that would mutually assured destruction. That would happen. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, we would be the safest country. Like, we'd be the most defended. Like, there's no way. Because most countries, they don't want to give their people firearms. I mean, there really even shouldn't be this much power in the federal government. Because the reason that they don't want us to have guns is because they want to build power. And if they want to build power, what's the best way to build power? Well, the best way to to centralize the power. They want to centralize all the power to the federal government. And how is the best way to centralize the power? Well, we can't let them have guns, because if they have guns and someone gets too authoritative with their power, they can just rise up against us. So we got to get rid of the guns. That makes sense. But a lot of people say that. What's another way? Well, we don't want people. So what they do in like North Korea and that, people who disagree and say stuff like, "Oh, I don't like the regime," they get arrested. So they want to suppress that information. Obviously the U.S. doesn't have people getting arrested for it because we have the First Amendment, but we're being censored on the internet, on Facebook and stuff. They're shadow blocking comments and stuff. Like, I guarantee 90% of the stuff that I post on Facebook, nobody sees. Like, I've never, like, when I post politics on Facebook, it's non-existent. It's invisible. Nobody can see it. It's just gone. I mean, unless people just don't care to argue, but that doesn't make any sense, because I'll see people argue day and night till they're red in the face about stuff. And this didn't actually, like, I had been posting some politics stuff around 2017, I would say, and people would comment on it, but not anymore. Like, now my stuff's just, like, gone, invisible. Nobody sees it, which is a big problem. So that's another way they're suppressing us. They're suppressing our freedom of speech. They're suppressing our Second Amendment rights. They want to take the guns. Joe Biden literally is saying, like, he literally said, "What are you going to do to fight the federal government? Like, the only way you could defeat us is nukes," or something. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I don't really remember the exact quote, because, again, I'm just sort of rapping here, telling my live and let live story or whatever. But, I mean, so I'm in New York, and obviously New York is a very blue area, but I live on Long Island, New York. Don't look me up. Dang it. But, which is a very red part of New York. Actually, most of New York is red. It's just the city is blue, and the other city, Albany, is blue. So the two cities are blue, and New York City makes up, like, New York City makes up such a highly dense population. It's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense how these people who are all crammed in, like, little squares get to tell our whole state how to live. I think that they should just have their own state. You know, like, they should have their own electoral thing, and, like, maybe we would, like, I don't know. It just isn't fair that they get to dictate our entire electoral college vote, because because they don't know what's going on. Like, I think it's the city that never sleeps for a reason. It's because everyone's always working, because it's so hard to, like, get not only the living wage, but people are working so many hours that, like, they don't have time to, like, do research on politics. So it makes sense that they don't know what's going on. It's fair. They just watch CNN or mainstream news, and they're just like, oh, okay, but, like, they're lying to you, so it's whatever. Yeah, but I guess that's where we'll end it for now. If you want to hear more about my political views, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, hit the notification bell to stay up to date on my videos, and don't forget to comment. Comment if you want to see more. Alright, well, I'm going to end it. Peace out.